This is, for most of them, their pinnacle. When they win a national championship, that's going to be the highlight of their career.
The 550 drivers we have here are the best of the best. National champions will truly be the creme de la creme.
We put more effort, more money, and more time into covering this one event before and after than anything else.
This is where a lot of the names first appear as national champions here, and then you will see them move on up to the other classes of racing to possibly someday as high up as IMSA GTP or the Indy 500.
The experts, the writers, the journalists that follow this intriguing sport year in and year out, they understand the significance of this event. They understand the importance of arriving at the first plateau in what seems a never-ending climb to the upper reaches of a successful career in motorsports. Seen from the outside, it's often easy to simplify the matter of winning. Just drive faster than the next guy. Just be a little more daring, or just have the fastest car. Simple. These competitors know, however, that simplicity is not a concept that often frequents this level of competition. No, the task at hand is anything but simple, at least for the thousands of mechanics and fabricators and backyard tinkerers of these racing machines. And certainly not for the over 500 drivers that have assembled here for this, the ultimate challenge in amateur motorsports. From Road Atlanta in Brazelton, Georgia, this is the Sports Car Club of America's 1989 Valvoline Runoffs. The gold is up for grabs in 22 separate classes of race cars. Throughout the long season, these teams have endured the long tows to distant venues, suffered mechanical malfunctions, dined on road food, and competed at no small expense in a number of national races that would allow them to collect the points necessary just to be invited here. The dues have been paid. The prep time is at an end. They've all earned the right to be here, but from each class, only one will wear the gold. It is now race time.
The first race of the 1989 Valvoline Runoffs was Showroom Stock C. Toyota was the manufacturer of preference, as 19 of the 32 cars entered were Toyota MR2s. In addition to several Toyota Corollas and FX16s, a handful of Hondas and one each Saab, Nissan, Renault, and Volkswagen were entered. But the dominant MR2 force was led by pole sitter number 9 Michael Galati of Olmsted Township, Ohio, and second position qualifier Stephen Lewis, 34, of Northborough, Massachusetts. The top 3 grid positions were taken with times under the class record. As the green flag dropped, Galati led the field into turn 1, followed by third place starter number 44 Eric Van Cleef of Sarasota, Florida. The battle at the front is fierce as the pack begins to thin out. On lap number 2, it's a 3-way battle and a body man's dream as the matching red paint is traded more than once. Number 98, Tom Carter of Lumberton, North Carolina, who started 7th, is now 4th. Michael Galati begins to pull away as Carter slips into second place, only to be repassed by Van Cleef. Here, it's Lewis recapturing second, but not for long as he begins a rather bumpy off-road excursion. On lap number 9, Galati streaks under the money flag to earn $1,000 donated by Napa Auto Parts with a 3-second lead over Van Cleef, Lewis, and Carter. Lap number 15 now, and one of the front runners, Van Cleef, heads for the pits as heavy body damage and a rubbing tire retire him from a hard-fought race. Lewis passes Carter for second place and sets a new track record in trying to reel in Galati. At the checkered flag, Michael Galati wins his first national championship in a flag-to-flag victory 3.72 seconds ahead of Stephen Lewis. Tom Carter comes across to take third place. The Toyota MR2 showed its dominance by sweeping the top 5 finishing positions. The Showroom Stock B field showed some diversity of manufacturers, from the turbocharged Peugeot family sedans to the normally aspirated Honda CRXs, and a smattering of Oldsmobiles, Volkswagens, and a Mazda. Again this year, the Peugeot appears to be the car to beat as they grab 4 of the top 5 starting positions. Jarrett Freeman of Portland, Oregon places his Peugeot 505, the number 49 car, on the pole position alongside Robert Postel, number 70 of Atlanta, Georgia. The first 2 rows have qualified under the existing track record. At the start, the pack climbs the hill into turn 1 with the front runners mostly in starting order. Postel took the lead on their first run down the back straight, but was overtaken by Freeman in turn number 1.
And now more racing back to Greg Freeman. Well, I think we had
Postel seems to have the straight line advantage and takes the lead. Third place starter Gary Brown of Oklahoma City pushes his Peugeot, the number 50 car, under Freeman to take second place. As Postel begins to build a lead, Michigan's David Headley puts his number 59 Olds Calais in third place. As the pack starts to spread out, Postel and Brown begin to put some ground between them and the third place battle of Freeman, Headley, and the number 88 Honda of Gerald Alamo, shown here taking third. Alamo loses it here a few turns later with this dusty miscue. On his 9th pass under the starter's stand, Postel wins $1,000 from Walker Dynamax Mufflers. On lap 12, Postel begins to lap slower traffic, and Freeman passes Headley for third place. David Helmick of East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, takes over 4th place in the number 33 machine. On the last lap, Postel gets sideways coming under the turn 12 Nissan bridge, but holds on to take the checkered flag and his first national championship. Peugeot sweeps the top 5 positions. However, when the teardowns are complete in the tech shed, Brown was disqualified and Jarrett Freeman was awarded second place. David Helmick earned third position. From the beginning, it was clear that there was no preferred car in Showroom Stock A. There were 5 different manufacturers in the top 10 qualifiers: Toyota, Shelby, Mitsubishi, Dodge, and Nissan. Michael Brent of Danbury, Connecticut, put his number 47 Toyota Supra on the pole 4/100ths of a second, ahead of the Shelby CXX of number 39 Robert Allison of Michigan. At the first sight of the green flag, number 47 Brent led the field through turn 1. At the end of lap 1, the first 3 positions were the same, but 7th place starter David Lapham of Broxville, New York, number 60, was now in 4th. By lap 2, Brent had dropped back and Allison was first with a charging Lapham second. Robert Murkow, the number 19 car of Santa Clara, California, had his Shelby in third. On the backstretch, Lapham gets by Allison for the lead. After constantly getting tires into the red Georgia clay and kicking up clouds of dust, Lapham is given the furled black flag. Murkow comes into the pits, and number 30 Dick Mackow of Marietta, Georgia, inherits third. Lapham, pursued tightly by Allison now, passes under the money flag to claim $1,000, only to let Allison back by in turn number 1. Bill Burley of Clements, North Carolina, has charged his number 87 Nissan 300ZX from 9th on the grid to 4th spot. Allison begins to pull away from Lapham and the field. On lap number 14, Lapham begins cutting away at Allison's lead and leaving third place Mackaw behind. By lap 16, Lapham is only 4 seconds behind Allison. On the last lap, Allison and Lapham pass under the Nissan bridge nose to tail. But Bob Allison holds on to win his first national championship by just 0.2 of a second over Dave Lapham. Dick Mackaw held on for third. The face of Showroom Stock GT has changed this year with the exclusion of the previously dominating Chevy Corvettes and Porsche 944 turbos. Showroom Stock GT is now the home of the pony cars. Mostly Chevy Camaros and Ford Mustangs with a pair of Nissans, Peugeots, and a Mazda thrown in for good measure. The Camaro was the car of choice for the front-runners as they took 11 of the top 12 starting positions. Boris Said III, number 8 of Stamford, Connecticut, took the pole, with Charles Bislin, number 67 of Edgewater, Maryland, on the outside of the front row. The field was too strung out on the first pace lap and did not get the green flag. On the second lap around, the green flag flew and Said beat everyone through the first turn.
Because you don't hear the roar of engines. They're all running with those bumpers. As they hit into turn one, we're going to...
At the end of the first lap, Said held a narrow lead over the third position starter Fred Baker, number 21 of Bedford, Ohio, and third place Bislin. John Phillips, number 4 of Sealy, Texas, was the fastest Mustang but spun under the bridge and re-entered the race near the back of the pack. Baker dropped back the 6th spot on lap number 3, and Beaver Theodosakis, number 55 of Carlsbad, California, took the 3rd spot in the bumper-to-bumper train of Camaros. At the halfway point, Said won the $1,000 bonus with a 2.3-second lead over Bislin and Theodosakis. Said is also a front-runner in the SCCA Corvette Challenge Pro Series. Baker was slowly improving his position until he contacted the tire wall past the Nissan bridge. Bob Strange, number 9 of Canton, Ohio, steadily improved from 9th qualifying spot to 4th on lap number 13. Theodosakis overtook a slowing Bislin to claim the 2nd position. Strange took 3rd as Bislin fell from the pace. Boris Said III took the checkered flag with a 15-second lead over Beaver Theodosakis in 2nd, and 3rd place Bob Strange. 10 of the top 11 positions were won by the Camaros.
All in all, the results of the entire group of Showroom Stock races turned out pretty well. That is, in comparison to last year's unfortunate number of disqualifications. Those disqualifications came as a result of some pretty thorough scrutiny by SCCA officials. But rules are rules. You break them, you pay the price. But what's different this year? Has everyone cleaned up their act? Or are the scrutineers just not quite so picky? Here's Chief of Impound, Dennis Dean.
2 things have happened that we're doing differently this year. Number 1, we've spent a lot of time and effort out of the national office and out of the local regions on showroom stock enforcement during the year, so that hopefully people understand better the sorts of things we're looking for and get the message very clearly that we are looking for legal cars and not to bring an illegal one. To attempt to speed the process up this year, rather than simply look at the winning car and then if we have a problem proceed down, in the garages behind me, we are taking the top 4 cars in each class and we are pulling them down simultaneously in a complete legality check, so that what we do to each one, we do to all of them, so that if we find irregularities, we don't have to sequentially go through the balance of the cars. If we have a problem with one of the top 4 cars and rule them out along the line, we will pull them out of the garage and roll in either the 5th or the 6th place car. But we're doing a simultaneous check on the top 4 cars. That check involves a complete legality check for the engine, for the transmission, for the rear end, for brakes, for suspensions, for electronic control, for body configuration. Basically anything that in any way could affect the performance of the car on the track, we're looking at.
There's been a lot of publicity and some controversy over the years regarding the subject of stretching the rules, But is that what it takes to win the big ones?
I think the people that have what Mark Donahue termed the unfair advantage is really nothing but basic sound preparation. If there is one consistent thing that I could say from the impounds and the teardowns we've done over the years is that the guys that you expect to be up on top and win from year to year to year are in most cases not stretching the rule book to the limit at all. They always have a little leeway that they've left themselves with the engine, with the suspension, wherever the rules are restrictive. They're never taking it quite to the limit. They leave themselves a little margin of error. The unfair advantage is just exactly what Mark Donahue said it was. It was thorough attention to detail. And the guys that are really doing well here and have done well over the years are not doing it by trying to rewrite the rule book. They're doing it by sound race car preparation.
The folks that call the tech shed home take pride in their work. It's long hours, and it's definitely a thankless position, but it's a necessary part of fairly determining the national champion in each class.
H production is the territory that is ruled by Spridgetts and Bug-Eyes. This year, 20 of these smallest of the production cars came to Road Atlanta to decide a champion. Past champions sat in the front spots as Raymond Yergler, number 87 of Summerfield, North Carolina, captured the pole. Defending champion Ken Purgason, number 3, sat on the outside of the front row. When the green flag dropped, Yergler led Purgason and the field through the first lap. Third place starter Randy Camfield of Gaithersburg, Maryland, slipped by Purgason into second. On lap number 3, the 41 car of Canfield takes the lead from Yergler as Purgason watches from a close third.
Coming out to 41, back into the lead. 87 running second, 3 and third, 31 and fourth.
But in turn 1, Yergler repassed Canfield to regain the lead. On the next lap, Canfield repassed Yergler in turn number 1. The lead cars go 3 abreast toward the bridge as Purgason takes the lead with Yergler and Canfield in hot pursuit. By the time Purgason wins the extra $1,000 on lap number 9, the 3 lead cars are out of sight of the rest of the pack. Purgason ran with a slight lead as Canfield tried unsuccessfully to get by Yergler for several laps. A race for 4th was developing as Jim Crichton of Atlanta, Georgia, fought off Ron Bartell of Madbury, New Hampshire. In the end, Ken Purgason successfully defended his national championship in his 10th runoffs. Raymond Yergler was 3/10 of a second back, and Randy Canfield came home a close third. After last year's first lap, first turn calamity, competitors in this year's 19-car G production field were hoping for a better start. Experience was the name of the game at the front as defending champion Tom Macon, number 86 of Bel Air, Texas, put his Alfa Romeo on the pole. Alongside him was runoffs regular 70-year-old Colonel Joe Hauser and the number 47 Datsun Roadster. At the start, Macon led the field cleanly through turn number 1. At the end of lap number 1, Macon had established a 1.4-second lead over Hauser and the MGA of Kent Prather from Woodbridge, Virginia. On the third lap, Hauser fell off the pace with the sick engine. Al James of Troutdale, Oregon, moved his Datsun Roadster into third. Charging fast from the back of the pack was number 32 Art Doyle of LaBelle, Florida, who had moved from his 19th starting spot to 4th. Macon took the $1,000 bonus on lap number 9 as a heavy attrition rate had knocked 6 cars out of the running. A 3.5-second lead was enjoyed by Macon on lap number 11 as he was constantly chased by Prather. Meanwhile, a battle for third was brewing as Doyle began to fight off the challenging Fiat of Tom Reichenbach, number 2 of Livonia, Michigan. After trading a little paint, Reichenbach took over third place and held off Doyle's challenge. And so the positions held, as Macon repeated his national championship with a 7-second margin over Kent Prather.
It feels great every time. I tell you, everyone is the best one, and this was really hard because I had a car right behind me the whole time. I knew if I made one slip, he was going to get me, and so I had to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. The car just ran super all day long.
Reichenbach took a well-earned third in his first ever drive at Road Atlanta. Going fast is the idea in auto racing. However, you must be running at the end to finish well. In past years, the F production crown was won by balancing speed with reliability. Two-time national champion Larry Moulton, number 47 of Sandy, Utah, put his Turner Roadster on the pole with hopes of success after poor showings at the last 2 runoffs. The Fiat Spider of Gary Balcom, number 30 of Monroe, North Carolina, qualified just 6/100ths of a second back. It was a clean start as Moulton led the field up the hill. At the end of lap 1, Moulton's brightly painted Turner led the MG Midget of 5th place starter James Nurr, number 95 of Pennsylvania, and the 3rd place Fiat of Balcom. Coming under the Nissan Bridge while running 9th, the number 52 car of Dennis Gernhardt of Whitehall, Pennsylvania spun down the hill but continued. On lap 3, Moulton had established a 2-second lead as Nerd tried to hold off Balcom. Balcom got by on the next lap, and the Fiat X19 of Bob Boyd, number 13 of Medway, Maine, joined a 3-way battle for second. Moulton's lead increased to 4.5 seconds as Nerd retook second again. On the next lap, Balcom slid by for second, only to be repassed by Nurr. Meanwhile, Boyd steadily watched from 4th. Moulton now was running away as he won the extra $1,000 for leading at the halfway point. Attrition had begun to take a toll as 8 cars had dropped out by lap number 11. Boyd passed Balcom for 3rd, and both passed a slowing Nurr, who later retired. On lap 15, Moulton had a 10-second lead and was passing lap traffic. Stan Creech, number 5, passed Balcom for 3rd, only to pull off course on the next lap. With the drop of the checkered flag, Larry Moulton had won his 3rd national championship as his Turner performed flawlessly on the way to an 18-second victory. Bob Boyd placed 2nd, and Gary Balcom was 3rd. Last year's E-Production Championship race was one of the most exciting at the runoffs. Without Paul Spruill to defend his championship, a field of 24 E-Production cars were eager to take his place. The pace was set by last year's runner-up, Bob Studdard, number 79 of Tennille, Georgia, when he qualified his Datsun Roadster under the E-Production track record. Beside him sat the Datsun Roadster of Rock Vest, number 38 of Louisville, North Carolina. When the green flag was shown, Vest was first through turn number 1, followed by a loose Studdard, and 3rd place Joe Cogbill, number 96 of Norcross, Georgia. At the end of the first lap, Studdard was first but was overtaken by Cogbill in turn 1. On the next lap, Cogbill was first and Vest a distant second, as Studdard and the 4th and 5th qualifiers had been knocked out of the running. Cogbill and Vest were locked in a struggle for the top spot and began to pull away from the pack. 8th place qualifier Vic Skirmantz, number 70 of Warren, Michigan, had assumed 3rd. He was soon challenged by 10th qualifier Jack Wheeler, number 11 of Columbus, Indiana. Skirmantz held on with Wheeler on his tail until Wheeler found an opening and took 3rd at the start of lap number 5. Cogbill and Vest had moved their side-by-side and nose-to-tail battle for the lead out of sight of the 3rd place scramble. Skirmantz regained 3rd from Wheeler on lap 6. Vest finally got by Cogbill on lap 7 to take the lead. The Black Lotus of Jerry Hinkle, number 66 of Maryland, had steadily regained the positions he had lost on the 2nd lap and was up to 5th. The leaders touched metal to metal at turn number 5. Cogbill pulled inside Vest at the bridge and resumed the lead to take the $1,000 bonus for leading on lap number 9.
$1,000. Sometimes it's fun to be right. And what he did just before he got to the Nissan Bridge, went wide, went by Vest.
Both had been off in the Georgia clay momentarily in the wild battle for the lead. Both leaders got the furled black flag for playing bumper cars. Wheeler passed Skirmantz for 3rd place on lap number 14 as Hinkle retired with a flat tire. Skirmantz retook 3rd and the positions held to the checker.
I think we're going to be getting it past.
Joe Cogbill III claimed the E-Production National Championship with a 0.2 of a second margin over 2nd place Rock Vest. Vic Skirmantz finished 3rd. The SCCA SPEC Racer was designed to challenge the driver by creating a class of absolutely identical cars with very stringent rules. The plan has worked, as SPEC Racer, previously called Sports Renault, is the largest subscribed class in SCCA racing and the 2nd largest field at the runoffs. David Dougherty, number 16 of Indianapolis, Indiana, put his SPEC Racer on the pole with David Tenney, number 8 of Chicago, in 2nd. The top 15 cars qualified in the same second. The pack came around the first time, but no flag was given. As the pack slowed down, several cars touched in a chain reaction coming down the hill. A second no start as the front rows were ragged. On the 3rd try, the green flag flew and the field went as much as 6 wide, heading for turn number 1. Tenney took the lead, followed by Dougherty and 4th qualifier Russell Dirks, number 24 of Dalton, Georgia. The pack went cleanly through the first turn. The next time around, Tenney still led, but Dirks had taken 2nd from Dougherty. The pack began to string out now, but the battling at the back was just as intense as up front. Tenney slowly began to pull away from the 2nd position duel of Dirks and Dougherty. A small gap then opened to the steady fight for 4th by John Jernigan, number 84 of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and Damon Ring of Akron, Ohio. By the time he won the lap 9 $1,000 bonus, Tenney had established a 5-second lead over Dirks in 2nd and Dougherty. Kyle Konzer, number 72 of Waterford, Michigan, had moved from his 7th starting spot to lock into 4th place. Broken noses, dragging body panels, traded paint showed on many cars as battle scars of fierce position fighting and off-course excursions. On lap 12, Dirk slid off at turn number 1 and took a rough ride, allowing Dougherty to move by to claim 2nd spot. Konzer overtook Dirks for third in turn number 1. But the battle continued as Dirks retook third. When the checkered flag was shown, David Tenney had won his first national championship by 10.5 seconds over David Dougherty in second place and third place Russell Dirks. Tenney, who finished second in last year's runoffs, said he owed his victory to a computer program that allowed him to find a new, slightly faster line around the Road Atlanta track.
Well, I can guarantee you that we were about 2 miles an hour faster through turn 1 today than anyone out there. And people just, you got to use the computer to find out how to get it, and that was the difference.
Sports 2000 is one of the youngest classes at the runoffs. It moved from Europe to the United States in the late 70s. It has grown through a strong following at both amateur and professional levels. Terry Lobel, number 48 of Treasure Island, Florida, was on the pole with Jeffrey Haas in the 26 car alongside. Both had qualified their Swifts under the Sports 2000 track record. The 18-car field was waved off on their first lap when an anxious second row jumped the start. They were given the green flag on their second time around, and Lobel led the field cleanly through the first turn. At the bridge, fourth qualifier, Pat Hill, number 12 of Birmingham, Michigan, spun and lost his nose section. Haas held a tight lead over Lobel. Sixth qualifier, Paul O'Keen, number 60 of Boca Raton, Florida, had moved up to third. The leader, Haas, had only been racing for 2 years and was knocked out of last year's runoff in a fifth-lap crash. Haas maintained a half-second lead over Lobel and O'Keen, with the first 4 cars distancing themselves from the pack. On lap number 9, Haas pocketed the $1,000 leader's bonus. Lobel overtook Haas on that lap to take the lead, but Haas was tight on his tail. O'Keen passed Haas for second on lap number 14. Thomas Harrer, number 11 of Madison, Wisconsin, had been running fourth, but took third as Haas continued to fade. Lobel and O'Keen had moved slightly ahead of the charging Harrer. On the last lap, Lobel and O'Keen were side by side and touched. Lobel spun, and Harrer took a wide line through the dirt. At the checkered flag, Paul O'Keen won his first national championship in a surprising finish. Thomas Harrer kept his foot in it to finish second, and Jeffrey Haas came across third.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. In fact, it was a shock, really. It's my second year racing, and it's just too good to be true. Second year as a national driver. So we just started Sports 2000 last year, and thrilled to death.
D Sports Racing is a class of 2- and 4-stroke engines in home-built or converted race cars. They are very quick and almost as finicky. This year's race began as almost 2 races in one. The real race had 5-time national champion Jeff Miller, number 0 of Plymouth, Wisconsin, on the pole, with Travis Duder, 82 of Los Altos, California, in the second spot. The other race was at the back of the grid as perennial fast guys Al Beasley Sr., number 44 of Willoughby, Ohio, and Tom Foster, number 78 of Hickman, California, were starting because of problems during qualifying. When the 20-car field took the green flag, Miller and Duder took the point and began to do battle. By the end of the first lap, Beasley had moved from 20th to 9th, and Foster was 13th. At the front, Miller led Duder way out ahead of third place Harvey McDonald, number 22 of Brentwood, Tennessee. Two generations of Beasleys improved position quickly. Al Beasley Jr., number 4 of Cleveland, Ohio, had moved from number 15 on the grid to 9th by lap 4, as his father Al Sr. had moved up to 8th. Beasley Jr. hit the tire wall in turn 7 on lap number 5 and was forced to retire. Duder finally got by Miller on lap 6, and they were already out of sight of the building race for 3rd place. McDonald was trying to hold off challenges from Dick Noblaw, number 17 of Great Falls, Virginia, and the rapidly advancing Foster and Beasley Sr. Duder won $1,000 for leading the race on lap 9 as Foster secured the 3rd spot and Beasley Sr. took 4th. On lap number 10, Beasley Sr. passed Foster for 3rd, but lost his steering and hit the tire wall hard in turn number 4. An ambulance was dispatched as a precautionary measure, but Beasley was unhurt. Duder's lead stretched as McDonald got under Foster for 3rd. However, Foster retook 3rd on lap number 15. At the checkered flag, Travis Duder had won his first national championship with a 7.8-second lead over Jeff Miller. Tom Foster finished 3rd after charging from the 19th starting spot. This year, there were several stories in the C Sports racing category. The dominant Tracer twins, Tom Foster, number 18 of Hickman, California, and Chuck Billington in the 48 car of Modesto, California, had returned. Foster won the pole by qualifying under the lap record. However, Nancy James, number 29 of Fremont, California, qualified her March in the 2nd spot, and David Thompson, number 77 of Pawling, New York, had qualified 3rd in his Ralt in front of Billington in 4th. Past champion Al Beasley Sr., number 44 of Willoughby, Ohio, qualified 5th. Beasley races the same chassis in C and D Sports racing, but destroyed the car in a crash in the D Sports racing event Saturday. In Sunday's warm-up, Beasley showed up with his drivetrain transplanted into rival Foster's D Sports Racing Decker chassis, which he had sportingly loaned to Beasley. Because Beasley was in a different car, he started from the back of the grid. As the green flag flew, Foster put his Tracer in the lead, followed by James and Billington. By the 2nd lap, the field had broken into smaller groups, and Beasley was quickly moving up. By lap number 4, Foster had an 8-second lead over James and was about to begin lapping traffic. Beasley had moved from 18th to 8th and was getting accustomed to the different car. Billington got by James on the next lap to make it Tracer's 1st and 2nd. Foster passed under the money flag to garner an extra $1,000 while running away from Billington and James. By lap 15, Beasley had moved up to 5th and was challenging Robert Schneider of Detroit, Michigan for 4th when he spun under the Nissan bridge. Beasley recovered quickly but fell back 3 positions. At the end of 18 laps, Tom Foster had run away to win his 7th national championship and 3rd in a row and set a new lap record. Chuck Billington was 2nd and Nancy James was 3rd.
85,000 people from across the country descended on Road Atlanta for the runoffs weekend. From the drivers and their crews to the enthusiastic spectators and the devoted workers who volunteer their time and skills to put on the show, all come together to be the faces at the races.
GT5 has traditionally been a challenge between the venerable front-wheel drive Mini Coopers and the more modern rear-wheel drive Nissan sedans. This year's race was no exception. Doug Peterson of Cameron Park, California, used his many years of both professional and amateur racing experience to put the Fortec Racing Mini on the pole. Beside him was Jeffrey Clinton of St. Louis, Missouri in a Nissan. On their first time around, the 18-car field did not get the green flag. They did get the flag their second attempt, and Peterson jumped into the lead. Fourth-place starter David Schluter of Traverse City, Michigan grabbed second in turn 1, followed by Jeff Worth of Silver Springs, Maryland. The first several laps saw Peterson begin to build a strong lead, followed by the two dogfighting white Nissans of Schluter and Worth. On lap number 8, Worth squeaked by Schluter, and the two started closing the gap on Peterson, who was already working his way through lap traffic. Peterson won the $1,000 mid-race bonus and built his lead back to 10.5 seconds by lap number 14. Worth, in second place, began to pull away from Schluter. When the checkered flag fell, Doug Peterson had captured his 5th national championship after being absent the last 2 years.
It worked flawlessly. We knew it worked so well in practice. We had a several second advantage over the second car, and that doesn't promote good racing, but the car just wanted to go that fast, so that's the way we went.
Jeff Worth was 11 seconds back in second place, and Schluter was third. "15 cars assembled for the green flag to make GT4 the smallest class at this year's runoffs. On the pole was number 37 Don Erb of Cameron Park, California, in a beautifully prepared Honda CRX. Beside him on the front row is number 48 Eric Van Cleef of Sarasota, Florida, in a Toyota Corolla. Erb took the lead at the outset and never looked back. Had he looked back, they would have seen Van Cleef constantly right behind. The battle for third was where the racing was happening. Third-place starter Daniel Robson, number 42 of Raleigh, North Carolina, in a Mazda, held off the Saab Sonnet of number 97 John Lawrence of Jamestown, New York, and the number 10 Datsun of James Grant of Memphis, Tennessee. On lap 13, Robson got off course, and Lawrence and Grant slipped by. Lawrence and Grant put on a fine show, swapping third and fourth positions. At the checker, Don Erb walked to an 11-second victory. This was his first national championship and bettered his previous third-place runoffs finishes. Eric Van Cleef drove to a steady second place, waiting for Erb to make a mistake that never came. The third-place battle continued to the finish line as Richard Grant retook third from John Lawrence on the back straight and held him off until the finish. Although GT3 is the middle member of the GT category family, it can always be counted on for some fast and furious racing. The 1989 GT3 race was no exception. Jim Dentisi, number 4 of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, drove his Honda CRX faster than the lap record to take the pole position. Bill Reed of Knoxville, Tennessee, qualified his number 97 Mazda RX-7 on the outside of the front row. The anxious field was not given the green flag on their first attempt because the middle of the pack was already racing. However, they did get the go on their second attempt. As the green flag flew, third-place qualifier number 41 Stephen Clark threaded the needle and jumped into the lead going into turn 1. Under the Nissan bridge, it's the number 11 car of Dwayne Davis of Battleground, Washington, followed by Robert Quindazzi in the number 16 car of Coventry, Rhode Island, and Reed in third. On lap 3, Quindazzi passed Davis, and Dentisi was back up to third. Lap number 5 now. Dentisi and Reed both get by Davis. Dentisi began pressuring Quindazzi for the lead and finally overtook him on the starting line.
It's Dentisi for the first time in the lead at the start-finish line, with Quindazzi running second.
By the time Dentisi won the $1,000 bonus for leading lap 9, he had pulled a small lead over second-place Davis and the third-place Acura of John Hackenbach, number 14 of San Francisco, California. On lap number 14, Davis lost power, moving Hackenbach into second. The venerable Triumph TR6 of Fletcher Williams, number 21 of Virginia, moved into third, then ended his day with a spin in turn number 4. Dentisi's domination became evident as he ran off and hid from Hagenbach and the battle-scarred third-place Porsche of Don Maluzio, number 53 of York, Pennsylvania. At the checkered flag, Jim Dentisi won his second national championship by the greatest margin of the weekend, 30 seconds ahead of second-place John Hackenbach and third-place Don Maluzio. At the beginning of the 1989 season, GT2 cars were allowed to run bigger race tires. The cars had been very fast, but the old rules made tire conservation the name of the game. But this year, the bigger tires meant better and harder racing. Everyone tried harder from the outset, as the first 5 qualifiers posted times under the class track record. The group was led by David Finch, number 86 of Ann Arbor, Michigan, on the pole, and John Finger, number 12 of Greenville, South Carolina, on the outside of row number 1. The 15-car field was given an early green flag, and Finch and Finger stuck together to lead the field. Front-runners Matt Minich, number 26 of Westerville, Ohio, and John Kelly, number 68 of Gaithersburg, Maryland, got off course and fell to the back of the pack. Finch maintained the lead, but Finger shadowed his every move relentlessly. The lead cars quickly built a 5-second lead over third-place Mike Green, number 8 of Taylor, South Carolina. Minich and Kelly began regaining ground lost on that first lap. Finch and Finger really put on a show as Finger remained glued to Finch's bumper. Doug Arneo, number 20 of Mine Hill, New Jersey, put his Porsche past Green's Mazda for third, and Minich was back up to fifth. Finger pulled alongside Finch on lap number 8, but couldn't get by.
Finch in 86. Finger on the outside. Finger's not going to give him any room.
Finger again tried to get by on lap 9, but Finch held him off to collect the $1,000 bonus for leading at the halfway point.
I really think we're going to have to give $500 to Finger for the dollar sign.
Arneo was running in third, 20 seconds behind the Finch and Finger duel as Minich moved into fourth place. After one of the best races of the weekend, Finger's Mazda suffered a broken rear suspension and Finger retired to the pits. Arneo inherited second, but third-place Minich set a new track record in his charge toward the front. Finch held a 20-second lead on lap 14 when Minich passed Arneo for second place. David Finch won his second straight national championship with a 9.5-second lead over silver medalist Matt Minich and bronze medalist Doug Arneo. At the Sunday awards banquet, Finch was awarded the President's Cup for his drive. Although the thundering tube-framed GT1 cars under the skin are more like sports racers than the production cars they resemble, the Big Iron are always amongst the crowd favorites. Past GT2 champion Morris Clement, number 95 of Collinsville, Illinois, changed classes this year and put his new Corvette on the GT1 pole. Beside him was the Camaro of Steve Petty, number 87 of Moraga, California. Both qualified under the GT1 lap record. At the late drop of the green flag, Clement showed the pack the wide backside of his Corvette, the only view they would see all day. Petty was close behind in second, followed by third qualifier number 79, Larry Park of Fremont, California. By the second lap, Clement and Petty began pulling away, leaving Park to battle with Jim Stevens, number 55 of Michigan, for third. Stevens took advantage of a solar car to pass Park for third. Clement led Petty to the $1,000 bonus on lap 9 as the interval back to Stevens in third was now 11 seconds. Scott Quayle of Middle Island, New York, looped his number 41 Camaro under the turn 11 Nissan bridge. Clement had established a 5.5-second lead when Petty began slowing. Park retired from the race while running fourth. Stevens passed the fading Petty to take second, a long way behind Clement, and maintained his position despite this dusty trip outside turn number 1. Fourth place, Rick Bell, number 36 of Connecticut, was now pressuring the slowing Petty for third. At the checkered flag, Morris Clement had his third national championship and his first in GT1 with a 25-second victory over Jim Stevens in second and Rick Bell in third. Formula 440 may be the smallest and simplest formula class, with a limited suspension and a belt-driven single-speed transaxle, but the class has really come of age to provide some of the most exciting wheel-to-wheel competition. The top 7 starters qualified under the existing track record, led by David Elliott, number 63 of Woodstock, Georgia. Paul Elliott, the 62 card of Lilburn, Georgia, was on the outside of the front row. The field of 34 screaming two-strokes was simply too anxious to go racing and were denied the green flag on their first attempt. On the second lap, they were given the green, and Paul Elliott led David Elliott and the field into turn number 2. But as the two passed under the Nissan bridge for the first time, Paul spun while leading and watched the rest of the race from the sidelines. Number 2, David Driscoll of Northampton, Pennsylvania, inherited second, closely pursued by the number 71 car of Charles Burns of Fontana, California. As David Elliott began to pull a several car length lead, Burns passed Driscoll for second place. On lap 6, Driscoll retook second from Burns, but Elliott was now 4 seconds ahead. Elliott won the $1,000 for leading the race at the halfway mark, and Mike Leathers, number 86 of Conyers, Georgia, moved into the third spot. On lap number 13, Driscoll began reeling in Elliott at 1/2 second per lap. Driscoll caught Elliott on lap number 16 and took the lead in a daring pass under the Nissan bridge. On the last lap, Elliott repassed Drissel for the lead. In a last-ditch effort to overtake Elliott, Drissel tried another move under the bridge, only to spin wildly down the pit entrance. David Elliott took the checkered flag to win his second national championship. Dave Drissel regained control to take second, and Mike Leathers finished third. Formula V, riding a wave of renewed popularity, promised to be a very tight race as usual. The first 14 of the 45 cars qualified within the same second. Mark Edwards of Los Angeles, California, in the number 74 Glamdring, captured the pole and is joined on the first row by Stephen Ira, number 88, of Jacksonville, Florida, in a car of his own creation. The largest field of the weekend takes the green flag in a snarling bunch. But in turn two mid-pack cars touched wheels, causing a major pileup. A red flag was thrown, and the race was stopped at the starting line as emergency crews removed the track blockage. The cars regridded single file, and the race was restarted with 8 cars missing. After the restart, Ira jumped into the lead, followed by the 00 car of Bill Noble of Manhattan, Kansas, and Edwards in third. Coming under the Nissan bridge, it's Noble, followed by Ira and the number 87 car of Fred Clark of Jacksonville, Florida. At the dip, Ira passed Noble to take the lead. Next time by, it's Clark leading Noble and Edwards.
The veteran Noble has just collected $1,000.
But by lap number 9, Noble has taken the lead and wins the $1,000 bonus.
I'll tell you, that is experience. That is a well-prepared car.
This time by the Nissan bridge, it's Edwards, followed by the number 80 car of Stephen Davis of Powder Springs, Georgia, and the smoking Noble.
Trailing out of his car has dropped to 30. He got passed by 74 and 80. Your 6th leader, 74, then 80, then 71.
On lap number 13, Davis overtakes Edwards with a heavily smoking Noble in third.
Working at lap number 13, only 74.
Noble regains the lead from Edwards in turn number 1 with Davis third.
So Bill Noble, he may have a smoke bomb back there. 172, almost bump drafting.
Next time by, it's Edwards, Davis, and Noble.
So your leader, 74, again, takes over the
On lap 16, Noble regains the lead, but no one knows how long the smoking engine will hold on. Davis's transmission begins to fail, and he drops off the pace.
'71, '74, '72, '80, and '75, and from 4th back, the battle has become a free-for-all. They're going wide, they're coming out.
After finishing second last year, Bill Noble held on to win his second national championship in one of the most hotly contested races of the weekend. 1.8 seconds behind and soaked in oil from Noble's engine, Mark Edwards finished second, followed by Brian McCarthy of Sacramento, California, in third. At the Sunday Awards banquet, Noble was awarded the coveted Road Racing Drivers Club Mark Donahue Award for the driver displaying the best combination of driving skill and sportsmanship. Noble had loaned his race engine to a fellow competitor and raced with his backup engine. There is a saying that if you can build a better mousetrap, the world will be a path to your door. In Formula Ford racing, Swift has built a car that has dominated since its inception. In the Formula Ford race this year, 26 of 31 cars were the super sleek Swifts. Steve Cameron, number 61 of Sonoma, California, qualified his Swift on the pole, with second qualifier Richard Balmer, number 7 of Marco, Florida, a mere 3/1000th of a second behind. It took 2 attempts for the Formula Ford to get the green flag. At the green, Balmer led Cameron and the rest of the field. Immediately, a first turn mishap sidelined the 5th, 8th, and 20th qualifiers and damaged several others. At the end of the second lap, Balmer led with Cameron second and Peter Cozzolino in the number 36 car of Woodbury, Connecticut in third. Cozzolino overtook Cameron for second as the top 3 cars pulled a slight lead on the next group. The race soon settled down to a fast, smooth pace. A battle for 4th spot began as Peter Johantkin, number 75 of Pompano Beach, Florida, tried to hold off Scott Rubenzer, number 8 of Brookfield, Wisconsin, and fast-moving 11th starter Mike Berg in the number 20 car from Downey, California. Cozzolino moved up to challenge Balmer for the lead as Cameron watched from several lengths back. 5 seconds back, Rubenzer took 4th. Berg passed Rubenzer for 4th as 4th through 8th ran in a tight draft. Balmer streaked under the money flag to win $1,000. Cozzolino bobbled in turn number 4 and Cameron slipped by to take second. While running 5th, Rubenzer spun from under the turn 11 bridge and retired soon afterwards. Cameron eased up to Balmer's tail to challenge for the lead, and 7 seconds back, Berg began to duel Cozzolino for 3rd. Berg took 3rd place on lap number 17. At the checkered flag, Richard Balmer held on to win the championship by a mere 1/10 of a second over Steve Cameron in the closest race of the weekend. Mike Berg came in 3rd. Formula Continental is dominated by sleek Formula Ford 2000 cars and can always be counted on for spirited racing by drivers looking to move up. Last year's champion, Claude Bourbonnais, has already seen success since joining the professional ranks. Bobby Carville, number 78 of Johnstown, New York, captured the pole in a Renard. Alongside him in the front row was Craig Priddle, number 16 of Scarborough, Ontario, also driving a Renard. Carville led the 21-car field at the green flag and set a quick pace. Priddle was second and Craig Taylor, number 26 of Plano, Texas, was 3rd. Carville began slowly building a small lead over Priddle and Taylor as the whole field settled down in a clean, tight race. On lap number 5, runoffs veteran Dave Weitzenhoff, number 67 of Bath, Ohio, moved by Taylor to take 3rd. Carville maintained his smooth, solid lead to win the $1,000 leading bonus money on lap number 9. Weitzenhoff passed Priddle at the turn 11 bridge on lap number 12 to capture 2nd. Soon, Weitzenhoff was on leader Carville's tail, offering the first real challenge for the lead. Priddle spun on lap number 16 and pitted, moving Taylor into 3rd. On the next to last lap, while challenging for the lead, Weitzenhoff spun under the bridge, allowing Carville to escape and Taylor to slide by. Bobby Carville drove smoothly, leading from flag to win his first national championship. Craig Taylor came across in 2nd, and Weitzenhoff recovered to take 3rd. Formula Atlantic is the fastest of the classes at the runoffs. It has been used by many successful drivers as a stepping stone to full-time professional racing. Although the fields are usually small, often the dreams are big. The 18-car field was led by pole sitter Stanley Cleva, number 30 of Glenshaw, Pennsylvania, in a Swift. Next to him sat the number 0 Ralt of Wayne Serbo of Tawaka, New Jersey. The pack was racing 3 abreast when they were waved off on the first lap. Again, a no start was called as the unruly pack raced before the start. On their third try now, the green flag flew when the race was on. Third place starter Charlie Botka, number 6 of Old Wick, New Jersey, tried an inside pass on pole sitter Kleba, but could not get by and stayed in third. Kleva's engine quickly went sour and he fell off the pace. Serbo took the lead, followed by Botka in second and Joseph Hamilton, number 11 of Sarasota, Florida. Passing under the turn 11 bridge, Scott Liebler, number 2 of Manhattan, Kansas, hits the back of the car in front, got airborne and crashed violently. An ambulance was dispatched and Liebler was removed from the wreckage. Serbo continued to hold a small lead over Botka as a challenge brewed for third. John Shearer, number 60 of Grosse Pointe Farms, Michigan, began to battle Hamilton for a third spot. On lap number 7, Shearer moved past Hamilton to take third. On lap number 9, Serbo was shown the money flag for the $1,000 bonus. Most of the positions remained stable, but Hamilton repassed Shearer in turn number 1 as the battle for third continued. In the end, 21-year-old Wayne Serbo won his first national championship in only his third year of racing with a 2-second lead over Charlie Botka. Joseph Hamilton held off John Shearer for third.
I feel great. We worked hard for it all year, and we had a lot of problems at the beginning of the week with brakes and things like that, but we got everything worked out last minute, and it worked out great. My goal is definitely Indy cars, and we're figuring on ARS cars for 1991.
The checkered flag is the symbol of victory that many strive to gain, but only one may grasp. The victory celebration, the culmination of the most successful season, the moment of glory for one and all to see the national champion.